The organ music had stopped. A sudden, oppressive silence had fallen over the grand, historic cathedral. It wasn't the kind of peace you want at a wedding. It was the heavy, pregnant quiet before a firing squad. I could smell the expensive wax from the candles and the sharp, cloying scent of the 100 perfect white lilies I had spent an obscene amount of money on. 300 pairs of eyes were burning holes into the back of my antique lace dress. I didn't care. The only thing I saw was Liam. His face was a mask of sweat and forced calm. He looked like the picture of a devoted groom, except for the tiny, almost imperceptible tremor in his lower lip. He was holding my hands. His grip was too tight, desperate. The priest finished the preamble. He gave his sermon on commitment and faith, all the words now sounding like a cruel, twisted joke. Then came the moment. The line that is nothing more than a legal formality, a throwaway sentence before the rings. If anyone here has any just cause why these two may not be lawfully joined together, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. I felt the entire room collectively inhale. Everyone waited for the expected 3-second pause. I lifted my head. I looked Liam dead in his beautiful, lying blue eyes. I felt a searing, icy coldness spread from my chest into my limbs. The cold was a relief. It meant the pain was over. Only the execution remained. "I have an objection," I announced. My voice was amplified by the microphone clipped to my bodice. It was clear, unwavering, and cold enough to shatter glass. A noise erupted behind me, a wave of shocked gasps and frantic whispers. Liam's eyes went wide. The color drained out of his face so fast he looked like a marble statue. "Maya, honey, what are you doing?" he hissed, leaning in close. His breath smelled like mint and pure terror. I didn't answer him. I used my left hand to gently but firmly detach my right hand from his sweaty grip. With my freed hand, I reached into the hidden pocket my seamstress Rosa had cleverly stitched into the lining of the skirt, a small detail I had planned weeks ago. I pulled out the device. It was a sleek, black remote, barely bigger than a key fob. Liam recognized it instantly. It was the remote for the high-end projector we had rented to display the saccharine Our Journey Together montage at the reception. "Stop this, Maya. Right now," he whispered, desperation making his voice crack. "Too late, Liam," I replied. I didn't raise my voice. I spoke to him as if discussing the weather. "The show must go on." I pointed the remote toward the massive white screen that hung behind the altar, a screen usually used for hymns and scripture readings. I pressed the red power button. The screen flickered, blindingly white for a second. Then it resolved into the opening frame of the video. It wasn't a collage of baby photos. It was the highest resolution screenshot of a very explicit text conversation between Liam's phone number and a contact labeled B. The first gasps were replaced by screams. Liam looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He knew exactly what this was. He knew it was the moment his perfectly constructed life imploded. He stammered, trying to grab my arm, but I kept the distance. "Oh, you have no idea how long I've been waiting for this," I told him, just as the video began to play. But to truly appreciate the sheer, glorious magnitude of this public execution, we have to rewind to the very beginning, to the moment I first mistook a viper for a charming prince and a venomous snake for a sister. The beginning was a movie cliche. I was 23, fresh out of design school, trying to freelance while juggling a side job as a barista. He was wearing an impeccably tailored gray suit and talking loudly into his AirPods about leveraging assets. He was a finance guy, predictably handsome, annoyingly confident. Then, disaster. He was trying to show me a diagram on his tablet while reaching for his coffee cup. The cup tipped. A flood of scalding triple-shot espresso covered my MacBook Pro. His reaction wasn't annoyance, but immediate, over-the-top panic. "Oh my God, I am so sorry. I am buying you a new one right now. Whatever it costs." He took me to the Apple store, bought the latest model on his corporate card, and then insisted on taking me to dinner to apologize properly. He was charming, genuinely funny, and he didn't once mention assets or leverage during the entire meal. He just talked about how much he loved old movies and hated modern pop music. I was hooked before the waiter brought the check. 6 months later, we were living in a cute 2-bedroom condo in the city. Liam was everything I wanted: reliable, affectionate, and genuinely driven. The only complication in my life, outside of my demanding clients, was Bella. Bella wasn't blood, but she had been my shadow for 15 years. My dad married her mom, Clarissa, when I was 12. Bella was 11. We moved from initial rivalry into a kind of fierce, codependent friendship. I protected her from bullies. She taught me how to put on eyeliner. But underneath the surface, Bella was a furnace of insecurity, masked by competitive cruelty. Everything I got, she wanted better. When I started dating Liam, Bella was immediately interested. Not in a supportive sister way, in a calculating, assessing way. "He's too perfect, Maya," she'd say, stirring her latte aggressively. "He's almost boring." "Are you sure he's not hiding something?" Then she'd turn on the charm. She'd start asking Liam about his job, batting her eyelashes just a fraction too slowly. Liam, ever the oblivious, ego-driven male, ate it up. He loved having two beautiful women vying for his attention, even if only one was his girlfriend. When Liam proposed on the rooftop of the restaurant where we had our first date, Bella was the first person I called. She shrieked with delight. "I knew it! Oh my God, I'm maid of honor, right? Right?" I laughed. "Of course, Belle. Who else would it be?" That's where the trouble really began. I was excited about the marriage. Bella was obsessed with the wedding. She saw it as her opportunity to shine. She wanted the spotlight. She wanted the validation. I was the one paying. My late grandmother left me a generous portfolio of stock options with the instruction to spend it on joy. For me, that meant the wedding of my dreams, a $150,000 production that was classy, elegant, and perfectly coordinated. Liam, meanwhile, was focused on future investments. "Babe, you're so much better at this stuff," he'd say, handing me the vendor invoices. "Just put it on your account. We'll settle up later when the market recovers." It wasn't a huge ask, but it became a pattern. I handled the venue booking, the catering contracts, the flowers. I was running a full-time design studio and coordinating a massive event. Liam and Bella were coordinating something else entirely. I insisted Bella get her own dress, a beautiful silk gown in deep emerald green. But 2 weeks before the final fitting, she called me sobbing. "I messed up my credit, Maya. I can't afford the dress. I have to drop out." I panicked. I couldn't have my maid of honor drop out. "Don't be ridiculous, Bella. I'll pay for it. Just send me the invoice." I transferred the $800 immediately. Another seed of resentment, dismissed as sisterly duty. The way they interacted started to grate on my nerves. They had an uncomfortable physical intimacy. Bella would frequently adjust Liam's tie in public or brush a piece of lint off his shoulder. If I were talking, they would exchange a rapid, private glance, a brief, shared moment that excluded me. One day, I was flipping through an old photo album of my wedding research. Bella came over and pointed to a picture of a stunning ballroom in a venue I had vetoed. That's beautiful, Maya. You should have chosen that. It was too small, Bella, I said. 300 people, remember? Liam walked past, paused, and looked at the photo. Actually, that place is amazing. Bella and I were just talking about how much better the lighting is there. I looked from Liam to Bella. They had been discussing my wedding venue choices without me and criticizing them. When exactly were you two just talking about my wedding lighting? I asked, keeping my voice level but my hands starting to shake. Liam just shrugged it off. Lunch break, Maya. Chill. We're on the same team. But the chilling truth, which was slowly starting to surface from the murky depths of my subconscious, was that they were definitely on a team. And I was the opponent they were working together to defeat. I just hadn't figured out the stakes yet. I had been too busy coordinating the biggest, most expensive victory party for their shared lie. The final month was a pressure cooker. I was running on 4 hours of sleep, coffee, and sheer organizational willpower. Liam, meanwhile, was emotionally absent. He moved through the apartment like a ghost, constantly on his phone, always murmuring about important calls or market fluctuations. I desperately needed his help. The catering manager needed the final count. The florist needed the exact ribbon color. I tried to pin him down one evening, holding a thick binder full of paperwork. Liam, I need 10 minutes, I pleaded. Just 10 minutes to go over the final budget and sign the photography contract. He didn't look up from his phone. Can't, Maya. Massive crisis with the Darrow account. Can you just initial it and text me the totals? I felt a flash of pure hot anger. No, I can't. This is our wedding, Liam. You need to show some interest. You need to be here. He finally looked up, annoyance etched deeply across his face. You know what, Maya? You're right. But you are making this impossible. You micromanage everything. You treat this like a corporate takeover, not a celebration. Maybe if you just loosened up, I'd want to be more involved. He slammed his phone down and stormed into the bedroom. I stood in the living room, holding the binder. My heart pounded a furious rhythm against my ribs. I felt guilty. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was turning into a bridezilla. But the next day, the Darrow account crisis was apparently resolved enough for him to spend the entire afternoon with Bella. We have to finalize the seating arrangement for the rehearsal dinner, Bella explained brightly when she came over. She brought takeout containers of ramen. Liam instantly perked up. I watched them huddle over my painstakingly organized seating chart. They were giggling, pointing at names, whispering names to each other. Why are you whispering? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Oh, we're just making bets on which couple will get drunk and cause the most drama, Liam said, giving Bella a high five. I looked at their hands, his long fingers resting on hers. The ease of their contact was sickening. It felt like they were in a bubble, and I was on the outside, peering through thick glass. My suspicion escalated into full-blown anxiety when Bella's birthday rolled around. I had bought her a gift certificate to a fancy spa. Liam's gift was a new, expensive piece of jewelry, a delicate silver necklace with a tiny emerald pendant. Wow, Liam, that's beautiful, I said, trying to sound genuine. It was a significantly more thoughtful and expensive gift than he had gotten me for my last birthday. She deserves it, Liam said, smiling at Bella. She's been such a trooper helping us with the wedding. Bella instantly clutched the necklace. I'll never take it off, she promised, looking directly at Liam. The look they exchanged wasn't gratitude and appreciation. It was something secret, something shared. It was a look that communicated us versus her. A few weeks later, my client took me on an impromptu weekend trip to a design conference in Seattle. It was last minute, but a huge professional opportunity. I told Liam on Thursday morning, I'll be gone until Sunday night, I said. Can you take care of the dogs? Sure, whatever, he said, barely looking up from his laptop. He was playing a first-person shooter game. I flew to Seattle with a knot in my stomach. I called Liam Friday evening. He didn't answer. I tried again, Saturday afternoon. Still no answer. I texted, is everything okay? Are the dogs fed? He finally called me back Sunday morning, his voice thick and drowsy. Hey, babe, everything's great. Just slept late. Then super busy doing wedding stuff. What wedding stuff? I pressed. All the vendors are confirmed. Just running errands, he mumbled. Ran into Bella and we grabbed dinner. You worry too much. I spent the rest of the day in Seattle obsessively checking his location on the Find My Friends app. I convinced myself I was losing my mind. But the app kept showing his location moving around the city, and once it pinned him to the parking lot of Bella's apartment building for 4 straight hours on Saturday night. I didn't confront him when I got home. I didn't have any evidence beyond a location ping and a mounting sense of dread. I decided to wait. The wedding was 2 weeks away. I had spent too much money, too much time, and too much emotional energy to blow it all up based on circumstantial evidence. I would be the good fiancé. I would trust him. But on my lunch break the following Thursday, I was walking past a high-end lingerie boutique, the kind I only bought things from on special occasions. Through the window, I saw a familiar flash of blonde hair. Bella. She was holding up a sheer white nightgown. It was the exact style I had told Liam I wanted for our honeymoon. She was laughing, looking back over her shoulder at someone who was clearly filming her with a phone. My entire body went cold. I wanted to smash the window, but I forced myself to keep walking. I walked around the block until my hands stopped shaking. The wedding was in 9 days. The tickets to Bali were printed. The veil was pressed. The massive, beautiful cake was being assembled. I had a choice. Cancel the most expensive event of my life, admit my humiliation to 300 people, and slink away quietly. Or I could keep walking down the path of destruction, collect the evidence, and make sure that when the truth came out, it wouldn't just hurt them. It would end them. I chose the latter. I decided right then that they had paid for their sin, but I was going to choose the time and place of their reckoning. The rehearsal dinner, the night before the execution, the calm before the self-inflicted storm. It was held in the grand ballroom of the hotel, an event I had meticulously planned to be intimate and celebratory. Everyone important was there. My family, Liam's parents, the bridal party. The air was thick with the manufactured goodwill that comes with expensive wine and high stakes. Liam, sensing my growing distance, was performing. He was kissing my hand, telling his groomsmen loud, slightly exaggerated stories about our first date, and acting the part of the smitten groom to perfection. Bella, across the table, was radiant. She wore a deep crimson dress that made her look breathtaking and inappropriate. She kept catching Liam's eye, a little conspiratorial smirk playing on her lips. They were enjoying the secrecy, reveling in the fact that they were sharing this filthy, beautiful secret right under my nose. My father gave his speech. It was tearful and genuine. He talked about my late grandmother and how proud she would be. He toasted to the long and happy life of Maya and Liam, the perfect match. Every word felt like a lie. Every sip of champagne tasted like bile. Then, Bella's turn. She stood up, tapped her knife against her water glass, and delivered a toast that was a masterpiece of passive-aggressive deceit. To Maya and Liam, she said, raising her glass, her voice shaking with mock emotion. Maya, you deserve all the happiness in the world. And Liam, you are truly the best man I know. She paused, then added, her eyes sparkling with something manic. You complete her in ways no one else could. And I know you two will have a marriage full of surprises. The room chuckled at the last word. I didn't. I looked at Liam. He swallowed hard and refused to meet my gaze. I knew she was sending him a message. An inside joke only the two of them understood. We're getting away with this. By 11 p.m., the dinner was over. Liam had consumed an impressive quantity of scotch and was barely able to stand. He was relying heavily on his best man to navigate the path back to the presidential suite. Don't worry, Maya, the best man slurred. Just nerves. He'll sleep it off. Liam stumbled through the door and collapsed face first onto the Italian silk duvet, scattering throw pillows everywhere. He was instantly, loudly asleep. I stood there for a long moment, watching his chest rise and fall rhythmically. The man who was supposed to be my future, the man who had taken my money, my trust, and my sister, The sheer weight of the betrayal was finally crushing me. I walked into the bathroom. I looked at my reflection. The elaborate makeup, the professional blowout, the diamond studs. It was the face of a beautiful puppet. I took a deep, shuddering breath and stripped off my clothes, throwing them into the corner. I needed to be cold. I needed to be sharp. I walked back into the bedroom. Liam's phone was on the nightstand, charting. This was it, the moment of truth. My last chance to walk away quietly, to protect myself from the inevitable, devastating scandal. My hand trembled as I picked up the device. I typed the code, 0824. My birthday, the ultimate act of false security. I went straight to messages. I scrolled past old threads, friends, clients, his mother. Then, the thread that stopped my breath entirely. Bella, my favorite sister. I clicked it. The screen lit up with a torrent of obscene, explicit, and utterly cruel messages. They weren't just exchanging dirty talk. They were actively mocking me. Bella, 3:15 p.m. yesterday. She's going over the floral arrangements again. I swear she's obsessed with the perfect shade of ivory. Lo, she's so clueless. Liam, 3:20 p.m. Haha, I know. It's almost sad. At least we get to break in the honeymoon outfit early, followed by a winking emoji and a picture of Bella in the lingerie I saw in the store. Bella, 1:00 a.m. Tonight, your dad's toast made me gag. Such fake sentiments. Tomorrow, we'll be the ones laughing when she's stuck signing the paperwork. Liam, 1:05 a.m. We'll celebrate afterwards. Meet me at the staff entrance at 3 a.m. My fiancé is passed out cold. My vision tunneled. The air felt thin and metallic. It wasn't just infidelity. It was a deliberate, malicious plot carried out with contemptuous glee. They weren't just lovers. They were collaborators in emotional homicide. I clicked out of messages. My fingers were operating purely on adrenaline and muscle memory. I needed proof that couldn't be dismissed as a text scam. I went to his photo album. My initial snooping had only revealed old vacation photos. This time, I knew where to look. The teal, recently deleted folder. It was a goldmine of pure cinematic villainy. Liam, in his arrogance, didn't know photos stayed recoverable for 30 days. I found them. 12 pictures and 3 short videos. The quality was HD. One photo was a selfie of them kissing with the caption stamped by the phone's internal metadata. Rehearsal venue, 10:45 p.m. While I was sitting at the table, thinking they were outside getting fresh air. Then, the video I'd been dreading since seeing Bella in the store. A 2-minute clip filmed in the bridal suite's changing room. Bella, posing provocatively in the white nightgown. Liam's voice, rough with desire, saying, "You're perfect. So much better than what I'm marrying tomorrow." I didn't cry. Crying was too messy. Crying was for victims. I was no longer a victim. I was a strategist. I connected my portable hard drive to the phone. I executed a surgical extraction. Every piece of data. The texts, the photos, the videos, the metadata proving time and location was copied. I even managed to access the logging for the venue's secure Wi-Fi from his saved passwords. I wiped the recently deleted folder clean again. I placed the phone back precisely where it had been. I slipped off the bed and walked over to my dress hanging on the wardrobe door. It looked pristine white and full of terrible potential. I felt a cold, exhilarating calm settle over me. The pain was real, but the plan was paramount. I was going to give them the wedding they deserved. I didn't sleep a wink. I couldn't. At 5 a.m., the first rays of dawn were cutting through the heavy drapes. I was already sitting at the desk, working on my MacBook Pro. My eyes were burning, but my mind was laser-focused. I had a deadline, 2 p.m., the ceremony start time. My first task was compiling the evidence. I imported the data into Final Cut Pro. I didn't need fancy editing. The raw footage was devastating enough. I sequenced the material logically. The texts, screenshots of the most malicious, mocking exchanges, the photos, the rehearsal dinner shots, and the lingerie shoot. The video, the unedited 2-minute clip from the bridal suite. I rendered the final file, the truth.mp4. The file size was large, a high-resolution 4K video to ensure maximum clarity on the massive screen. Next, I needed an inside man. I scrolled through my contacts. Mark Rivas, the audiovisual tech for the venue. We had dated briefly in college. We were still friendly. Mark was a professional, but he was also a huge believer in karma, and I had his number. I drafted the text, carefully omitting the context to avoid Mark getting cold feet. Meet 5:45 a.m. Mark, it's Maya. Urgent vendor change. Liam and I decided to replace the childhood montage with a new surprise video for the start of the ceremony. It's a huge surprise, even for him. I need you to load this file onto the main projector server immediately and set it as the default presentation for 2 p.m. Do not open it. It has to be a total shock. I attached the file. Then I added the crucial safety net. Me, also. Mark, I need to know the model number of the projector remote control. My dress has a pocket and I want to hold it for dramatic effect. I need to make sure I buy the— I had a mate pellet. Hit. Mark replied at 6:01 a.m. Wow, Maya, cutting it close. File received and loaded. Don't worry, my lips are sealed. Model is a Sony RM-EZ4. You're going to kill it. Congrats. I immediately went to Amazon Prime Now and ordered the remote to be delivered to the hotel's business center by 10 a.m. The beauty team arrived at 6:30 a.m. Bella walked in right behind them, radiating false cheer. Look at you, sleepyhead. Bella chirped. I brought mimosas. You look pale, sis. I just needed a few hours to finalize some things, I said, offering a weak, convincing smile. I didn't look at her directly. I focused on the makeup artist, instructing her to give me a flawless, impenetrable finish. For the next 4 hours, I performed the hardest role of my life. I sat still as they applied foundation, contour, and highlight. Bella was constantly fluttering around me, fussing with the veil, talking about her own upcoming dating life. You know, Maya, she confided, leaning in close while the stylist pinned my hair. I'm so happy you and Liam found this. It gives me hope that I'll find a loyal, stable guy someday. The hypocrisy was so thick I could practically taste the metal. My hands were shaking, but I channeled the rage into stillness. Soon, I thought. Just keep talking, you self-absorbed monster. Soon, your words will be broadcast to the world. The remote arrived at 10:30 a.m. I slipped away to the business center, signed for the package, and tucked the little black device into the pocket Rosa had sewn for me. It felt cold and hard against my thigh. It was the only tangible thing keeping me from dissolving into hysterical rage. At 1 p.m., my father walked into the room. He was in his tuxedo, looking incredibly proud. He took my hand. You are the most beautiful bride I have ever seen, Maya, he said, tears welling up in his eyes. You have your grandmother's strength. Are you ready for this huge step? I looked at him, my sweet, trusting father, who had always shielded me. I couldn't tell him. He would stop the wedding, and Liam would escape the public consequences. My dad deserved to see the truth unfold, devastating as it would be. I am ready, Dad, I promised. And for the first time that day, I didn't feel like I was lying. I was ready to end this charade. We were led to the back of the church. Liam was nowhere to be seen. The wedding coordinator hurried over. Maya, there was a small issue. The AV guy, Mark, is having trouble overriding the system for the music. We might have a slight delay. No delay, I stated, my voice firm. Tell Mark to stick to the plan. He knows exactly what to do. The audio-visual must work perfectly. No excuses. The coordinator looked flustered, but she nodded and scurried away. I knew Mark was likely watching the file I sent, trying to contact me, but I had silenced my phone. The die was cast. The execution was scheduled. I smoothed the lace of my dress. Bella came over for one last fake hug before the procession began. I inhaled her vanilla perfume, the scent that was forever linked to my undoing. Get out there, sis, she whispered, squeezing my hand tight. It's your big moment. It is, I agreed, returning her gaze with a predatory smile. The biggest. The procession began. It felt like a funeral march. I watched Bella glide down the aisle, tossing a final, seductive smile toward Liam, who was standing stiffly at the altar. Her confidence was astounding. She had no idea the trap had been sprung. Then, my turn. The doors opened. The organist launched into canon in D. My father squeezed my arm. I took that first step, and the world slowed down. The room was a sea of faces, all smiling, all unaware. When I reached the altar, my father kissed my cheek and handed me over to Liam. "Take good care of her, son," my dad said. Liam swallowed hard and managed a strained, "I will, sir." We stood before the priest. The ceremony started. It was all a blur of generic words and religious rhetoric. I kept my breathing slow and even. I was conserving all my energy for the final strike. The priest spoke of the sanctity of the union. He asked for the rings. He began the final, crucial invocation. "If anyone here has any just cause why these two may not be lawfully joined together, let them speak now or forever hold their peace." The moment was upon us. I pulled the remote from my pocket. It wasn't just shock that immobilized Liam. It was recognition. He saw the black plastic device, and his eyes glazed over with pure, undiluted panic. "I have an objection," I stated, the microphone ensuring every corner of the vast cathedral heard me clearly. The noise was instantaneous, a roaring wave of gasps, whispers, and a few nervous coughs from the back row. "Maya, you are embarrassing me," Liam grated out, leaning toward me. His veneer of calm had completely shattered. "Put that away. Now." I ignored him. I pressed the power button, then the play button on the remote. The huge projector screen, which had been blank white, immediately filled with the high-resolution screenshot of the text exchange. "Liam to Bella, she's so annoying about the seating chart. I can't wait to be with you tonight." My mother shrieked, a high, unnatural sound. Liam's mother let out a guttural sound of disbelief. The priest stopped talking, his mouth hanging open like a startled fish. "It's a fake," Liam yelled, desperately trying to regain control. "It's photoshopped. Maya is having a breakdown." "Is this photoshopped, Liam?" I asked, turning slightly to address the guests, but keeping my eyes fixed on him. "Because I got this straight off your phone, just 7 hours ago." The screen cut to the photos. Bella in the rehearsal dinner venue, kissing him, the metallic stamp of the time metadata visible in the corner. Then, the shot of her in my honeymoon lingerie. Bella, who had been standing beside me, the model maid of honor, let out a choked cry. She tried to grab the screen with her bare hands, but it was too far away. Then, the final, crushing blow. The video started playing. The sound system in the cathedral was built for the booming voice of God. Instead, it broadcast the sound of Liam's lust-fueled commentary and Bella's mocking giggles. Liam's voice booming through the speakers. "You're perfect. So much better than what I'm marrying tomorrow." The chaos was instant. It was auditory and visual violence. People were shouting, standing up, pointing. Liam's father, a man of rigid corporate dignity, stood up and bellowed, "What the hell is this, Liam?" Liam finally lunged for me, trying to snatch the remote. But I was ready. I sidestepped him, graceful and calm, and my $4,000 down. "I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen," I announced into the microphone. "I know this isn't the romantic montage you expected, but since Liam and my sister Bella have been enjoying their own private ceremony behind my back, I thought it only fair to share their vows with everyone." Bella bolted. She knocked over a flower arrangement and tripped over the hem of her gown, sprinting toward a side door. Liam was a wreck. Tears were streaming down his face, not of remorse, but of total, agonizing defeat. He turned to the crowd, hands outstretched. "She's crazy. She planned this. It's all a lie." I took off my gloves. I looked at the enormous, brilliant diamond on my left hand, the symbol of his lie. I twisted it off. I held it up for everyone to see. "This ring is a symbol of a contract you violated with malicious intent," I said, my voice echoing off the stone walls. "I will not marry you. I will not sign the papers, and I want every single vendor payment I made back." I tossed the ring. It didn't bounce off his chest. I threw it with calculated force, and it landed with a sharp clink right in the center of the altar, next to the priest's ceremonial book. I turned my back on the screaming, the crying, and the absolute destruction I had wrought. My father, who had been paralyzed, finally broke free. I saw him grab Liam by the lapels of his tuxedo, just as I walked out the door. My wedding was over. My revenge had just begun. The door slammed shut behind me. The noise of the collapsing ceremony, the shouting, the sobbing, the sheer frantic terror was suddenly muffled. I stood alone on the marble steps of the church, the afternoon sun warm on my skin. I didn't feel relief yet. I felt hollow, completely drained, but terrifyingly powerful. My ride, a gorgeous vintage Rolls-Royce, was waiting. The driver, a kind older man named George, looked completely bewildered. "Ms. Maya, where is the groom? Are we going to the reception?" I looked down at my expensive lace dress, covered in the blood of my enemies. "We are going to the airport, George, but first, please take me to the lawyer's office downtown and stop for a coffee on the way." A very strong one. The fallout was an instant, high-velocity catastrophe. The amateur footage of the confrontation was viral within 2 hours. Someone had uploaded the entire confrontation, titled, "I wouldn't take you back." Bride exposed groom and sister at altar, full video. The story was picked up by major news outlets that evening. My life and the wreckage I created was suddenly public property. Liam, his life was over. The finance firm he worked for, a major conservative institution, called his father, who was also a partner, and demanded Liam's immediate resignation due to moral turpitude and unacceptable behavior that damaged the firm's reputation. Liam didn't just lose his job, he lost his career trajectory. He tried to claim I was mentally unstable and that the video was deep faked, but the meticulous metadata I provided to the local news station sealed his fate. He was shunned by the industry. His parents, devout high society people, were humiliated beyond measure. They cut him off financially and told him not to attend any family gatherings for the next 5 years. He was last seen moving in with an old fraternity brother in another state, driving a borrowed Honda Civic instead of his financed BMW. Bella, my father's reaction was swift, final, and brutal. He didn't just disown her, he removed her from the family trust, revoked her access to the emergency funds, and sent a letter to her university detailing her behavior, which led to her immediate expulsion from the student advisory board. Bella was utterly isolated. Her mother, Clarissa, initially tried to defend her, claiming poor choices. But when the full extent of Bella's mockery came out, my dad issued an ultimatum. Bella is out, or you are out. Clarissa chose my father and the stability of their 30-year marriage. Bella called me incessantly, begging for forgiveness, claiming Liam manipulated her. I never answered. I let the voicemails pile up. Then I blocked her number permanently. The finality of cutting her out felt like a physical weight being lifted from my chest. The financials. The annulment was easy. We never signed the marriage certificate, so legally, nothing had happened. My lawyer, a stone-cold shark, went after Liam immediately for the costs. Since the majority of the vendors were contracted and paid for by me, and Liam's actions were the sole demonstrable cause of the breach. My lawyer successfully recouped almost $100,000 in non-refundable deposits and vendor fees from Liam's personal savings account, which was surprisingly small. He had to liquidate his stocks to pay me back. It wasn't about the money, but the principle. I got my money back, plus interest in the form of emotional satisfaction. 2 days after the non-wedding, I was at the airport. I was wearing a simple, tailored silk jumpsuit and carrying a single designer bag. I was flying first class to Bali, the villa, the travel, the reservations, all non-refundable, all prepaid by me. I spent 2 weeks in paradise alone. I didn't cry once. I meditated. I swam. I drank ridiculously expensive cocktails. I realized that my self-worth was never tied to a man or a sister's approval. It was tied to my own strength. On the last day, I sent one final anonymous email to Liam's disgraced father, containing a single link. It was a photo I took of my view from the infinity pool at sunset. The caption was simple, "Enjoying the honeymoon." I came back a different woman. I started my own high-end design firm. I stopped managing other people's chaos and focused on building my own empire. I learned that betrayal is a costly mistake, And sometimes the best revenge is the one you plan meticulously, execute publicly, and then enjoy the profits from. My name is Maya, and I burned my own wedding to the ground just to watch the people who hurt me suffer the consequences, and I wouldn't change a single thing.